Good evening. Welcome, everybody, to the Songwriting Pro Jam session for April 2020. This is a little bit different. This is an open house jam session. So I guess this may be the second one of these we've done so far. But during this time of social distancing, or at least a physical distancing, we don't have to be socially distant. So it's a time for us to hang out and get to know each other a little bit better. And then, hopefully get some questions answered and all the good stuff. So if you're new, if you're watching the replay on this, this is something we do every month over at Songwriting Pro. J.A.M is an acronym, stands for Just Ask Me. So I'll speak on a subject for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then we open it up to your questions for the remainder of the hour. And then, we just try to be as helpful as possible as we can be for the community. These are recorded, and then they're added into the Songwriting Pro member area. So if you miss one, you can always go back and watch the replay. So we have a few years worth of those over there. So I'm just letting a couple new folks in here. All right. So what I want to talk about tonight is just some general advice for songwriters. Usually, I take a topic, and I figured this might be just a good time to give some just general little hodgepodge of advice for about 10 minutes or so, and then we'll move on. And so if you would go ahead and everyone just make sure you keep yourselves on mute so we don't have any, barking babies or crying dogs in the background or anything like that. So the audio comes through nicely for everybody, hopefully. All right. So, the first thing to know is I don't know everything about songwriting, about how to get cuts and hits. I don't think anybody does. If I knew it all, I'd be writing a song on a beach somewhere, or just retired. Actually, I wouldn't be retired. I'd be writing a song on a beach somewhere. But I've been blessed to have enough success and failures in the music business, to pick up some knowledge here and there, some what to do's and some what not to do's. And so I just want to share some of that stuff with you. So the first thing I want to talk about is you don't want to import sand to the beach. Okay. This is for if you want to get songs recorded by outside artists, you want to get songs on the radio, that sort of thing. You don't want to import sand to the beach. So if your songs are doing what everybody else's songs are doing, nobody has a reason to cut your songs. You want to be bold. You want to be innovative. You want to give the artist a reason to cut your song give them a reason to cut a song that comes from outside of their established relationships. They have their buddies or co-writers, the stuff they write themselves, the stuff the producer writes, that kind of stuff that hit songwriters are sending them. You have to give them a reason to cut yours. If you're just doing what everybody else is doing, why would they cut yours? Consider why someone would choose your song. So not a song like your song, but like your song, because the more songs that are out there that are like your songs, the less chance that somebody has of actually like choosing your song. Like, yeah, they could choose my song because this is just like so many songs on the radio. Well, there are a bazillion of those songs that are just like the songs on the radio getting pitched, that the artist is writing themselves, that their buddies are writing, that their producers are writing. Why would they pick yours? You gotta zig where they zag a little bit. And it's a balancing act of being different, but not being too different, and no one knows exactly what that secret sauce is. And there is some value in learning how to write just like the radio, just to, practice hitting a target that you're aiming for. But if you're just doing that, they get that all day long. There's not a reason for them to pick yours. So, be daring, be bold. I tell people sometimes to write something that they feel is too real for radio, to practice doing that. And I think a big part of it is, we can get in a room and we be so concerned why somebody might not record a song that we cut all the cool edges off the song. And I've had a publisher tell me that too, that some of their writers have done that. And they cut all the cool stuff off their song. And so they end up with this very safe vanilla thing that he can't get cut. He's like, be bold, be edgy, be kind of whatever it is that you do, and let the publisher, let somebody else worry about whether or not someone would cut it. And I look at it as saying, I want to be more concerned with the reasons why someone would say yes to my song than the reasons why someone would say no. Yeah, that's exactly. I'm not going to be so worried about not stepping on landmines or not doing something that somebody might not like, that I don't give them enough reason to say yes. If you can write a song, you can write songs all day long that don't give someone a reason to say no to your song, but they're not going to say yes because of that. That doesn't get anybody to say yes just because there's not a reason to say no. I mean, you want to be mindful of that stuff, but you really got to swing for why would somebody say yes? What I've been looking at lately with some of my writing is, what, these may take longer to get cut because they're not the run of the mill, exactly what everybody else is doing. But when it finds the right person, that person's going to get it. And that person's going to want to say yes versus, hey, I'm going to aim at just what everybody else is doing. And therefore it goes in the stack of everybody else's songs. And then I just hope I get lucky. So that's something to think about, is why would somebody say yes to your song? Give that at least as much attention as trying not to trip a trigger that would, send them to say no. So that's one thing, is don't import sand to the beach. Another thing is, your team matters. So you want to build your team wisely. Your team being, your co-writers, publishing relationships, musician relationships, all that stuff. Your cheerleaders, your, people you bounce song ideas off of, people that you say, hey, here's a new song. I didn't write it with you, but I'd love your opinion, that kind of stuff. Build your team wise. I've heard it said that we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And that's scary because I have 5 kids. So I don't know what that says about me or my maturity, but, in a business sense, that is definitely true. You want to build a strong team. You want to build a team that, you can rise with, not a team that you have to rise above. And sometimes we can, so-and-so and I've been buddies for years, but you realize he's an energy drain. He's negative. He's bitter, or she's bitter, or whatever. And that stuff's contagious. We need to socially distance from that, from people that are negative, people that are bitter, people that only see the closed door and aren't looking for an open window. And so that's something to really be mindful of, because sometimes we have to prune relationships. I've had to do that. It's not fun, but I've had some people that I used to write a lot with that have gotten really negative and down. And so, I'd be trying to lift them up going, well, here's some opportunity here. You can maybe do this, you do that. And all it was, no, that won't work because of this. No, that won't work because of that. I was like, I got to roll out because this stuff is catchy. That stuff is sticky. It's going to stick to me on the way out the door, and it's going to get me, negative later. And I can't be around that because, hey, we're in a business with a really low success rate. So there's enough negativity built in. I don't need to import it, right? I got enough here. That's all right. I want to be with people that build me up. And that doesn't mean that you want to have a team of only, yes men kind of thing, where people are just blowing smoke and are Pollyanna about stuff. That's not helpful either. It's good to have a team and people that will challenge you to get better, but they're challenging you because they believe in you and they believe you can accomplish it. I remember an old football coach, this was like in junior high. It's like, they always got on to the starters the most, the people that had the potential, all those knuckleheads in the back, that were just on the team. He didn't deal with them very much. He didn't get onto them. He didn't do a lot of coaching up. Why? Because they're knuckleheads, right? But he would really get on to the people that had a lot of potential. So don't be afraid of people like that who kind of have that coach mentality going like, I know you got it in you. You can be great. And we're going to challenge each other and hold each other to a high standard. That's great. That's good kind of challenging, stuff that can make you mad sometimes. But that's different than just negativity. So you want to be careful about who you build on your team. Another thing is to get to know as many decision makers as possible. And, the story of a cut is oftentimes a story of relationships. I think it's usually the story of relationships. And so the more and deeper relationships you have with decision makers, then the better chance you have of getting cuts, because you just have more outlets. And I know this may be frustrating and you're thinking like, okay, well, great. How do I do that? Which is, stuff that we talk about, and we present opportunities for that with like our Play for a Publisher event and music industry pitch event. And we provide those, but I really want you to have that in your, in your way of thinking of going, okay, I need to build relationships with decision makers. Cause otherwise, I think that Field of Dreams movie gave some terrible advice that creatives, really took to heart. If I build it, they will come. And that's not always the case. It works a lot better when you build something wonderful and take it out to people and give them a chance to see it. And so, the good news is these days y'all can reach them from around the world. I mean, I don't know how many cities and states and maybe even countries we have just here tonight on this call. But we have people from all over the place, and so with industry like I mentioned, the play for publisher, the music industry pitch, the know the pro. And that's just stuff that we do here at Songwriting Pro, not to mention all the great stuff like Global Songwriters Connection has available and NSAI has available. Jim is rocking his NSAI shirt tonight. And yeah, I love him too. And so, there are plenty of good, reputable places you can go to meet some pros, even if you don't live in a major music town. And you want to take advantage of that. It's not easier to do it for long distance, but at least these days you have a shot and it's more possible, especially right now when everybody's locked up in their house and everything's online. So it doesn't matter if you're, from Arizona or Scotland or down the street, it doesn't matter so much right now. So it's like, take advantage of it. And then just the last thing before we open up to questions is to enjoy the journey. If you want to go pro, you got to be prepared for a marathon, not a sprint, and you have to enjoy every mile. So if you have an attitude of gratitude and celebration along the way, enjoying the small wins along the way, you have a better chance of sticking with it long enough to have some big wins. I had some buddies of mine that we had this football that, was just in a little, plexiglass case, and we called it the game ball. And, because just like football players, you have a great game, coach gives you the game ball, and, you get to take it home, and that's like your trophy because you performed. And so the three of us would pass this game ball around whenever one of us had a win of some sort. For my buddy Anthony, it might have been when he started getting the gig playing Tootsies on the weekends, and that was a step up for him being an artist. He got the game ball. When my buddy Matt signed his first publishing deal, he got the game ball. When something would happen for me, I would get the game ball, and we try to just keep it passing around to celebrate these wins. And sometimes it's small wins, sometimes bigger wins. The thing was to celebrate the journey with people is even better, because I think if you delay gratification until you have your first number one, you're probably going to burn out and never get that number one. But if you enjoyed the journey along the way, find those small wins and savor them, then that's going to give you juice for the journey, and you're going to be more likely to hang out and get those. So I just encourage you just to, you want to work hard and you want to do the hard things, but you want to enjoy yourself along the way, because the only thing you're guaranteed of having is the journey. We are not guaranteed of any particular outcome. Like, I may never get another cut. Y'all may never get another cut. You may not reach that level, whatever that is that you want to reach, but we're guaranteed of having a journey. And so if you enjoy that, enjoy the people you're on the journey with, that's going to make it so much more worthwhile. Because otherwise, it's like, don't do it for the money. Don't do it for, for the fame, all that stuff. Do it because you love the work. Do it because you love writing songs, that you enjoy the people you're with. And if you enjoy the journey, then it's a good journey, no matter kind of where it takes you. So anyway, that's what I had to say. I want to open up to y'all's questions for the rest of the hour. So how we do this is a couple ways you can ask questions. One is the chat in the bottom. So I see some people already on the chat, but if you go to if it's a top on a tablet, I believe your top toolbar on the tablet, bottom toolbar on a desktop or laptop, it says chat. You just click on that and you can send your question to me, or, you can post it where everybody can see it, or where just I see it. The other way to do it is to go under participants, which is also on that main toolbar. You click on that, then you click raise hand, and it gives me an electronic notification that you have something you want to ask. And then I can call on you or read your chat, and then you can unmute and ask your question if you want to. So that said, I'm gonna take a breather, take a drink. There we go. And let's see here. From A, the question, if you write more sync-oriented stuff, how do you develop a relationship with someone who can play sim? So I don't do a lot of sync placement, just being a country lyricist. A lot of what I do doesn't lend itself to that world. I'm starting to do a little bit more of that as I know people that know people, and it makes more sense for me to pursue that. So there are a couple places, ultimately it's a music supervisor that makes a lot of those decisions. If you're talking about like a film or TV show, those are the people that are in charge of doing A&R and finding the music that's going to go into a film or a TV show or a commercial. And so, there are various ways to look them up. Like I said, myself, I haven't done much of that because I just don't have a lot of stuff that works for that. And then there are go-betweens. I mean, music publishers are getting to do more and more of that as well, because that's one thing that streaming hasn't killed, is film and TV, sync licensing. I mean, that is one of those things that is not here in the US, not dictated by, you know, a government agency on how much you get paid. You actually get to negotiate. So the rates are better because it's more free market. And so more publishers, as streaming's kind of taken over, and you know, mechanical sale royalties are down, more and more publishers are looking at that as a viable thing. So some of it may just be going straight through a publisher. Some of it may be reaching out directly. I know there are some music houses that, you know, will non-exclusive take your music and then shop it around and try to get placements and stuff. So I don't know much about those. I probably have some stuff in some libraries here and there, but it's nothing that I've really chased down. So I think someone added a thought on that. Maybe not. Let's see. Yeah, how do you find the right go-between to create a productive relationship? Man, you know, look up and see where the music is coming from that's getting used. And so like, okay, whose music is getting used? Who's their publisher? You know, see if you can backtrack to that to see if there's a good relationship there, somewhere to track it down. Same thing, like if you want cuts by an artist, look up who the publishers are on the songs that that artist records. That'll give you a place to go, okay, well, these publishers are getting on this record. That's how I want to get it. You know, that's where I want to end up. So let's reach out to them. What are my thoughts about Music X-Ray or Taxi and others? I have not used Music X-Ray or Taxi, so I don't have any personal history with them. So I really can't have an opinion, just because, you know, you hear stuff, I don't know. So I honestly just don't have an opinion because I don't know anyone there and haven't used them myself. And as far as I know, I'm not aware of anyone that's had, you know, big success with them like that I know personally. So, David Julian.
Yes.
Hey, David.
Can you hear me?
I sure can.
Oh, hey, you know, my question is, you know, we've talked before, and I do a lot of like finished track work where, you know, a lot of times when I write, I'll come up with a track and maybe some melody ideas, but I do a lot of production, play instruments and all that. I got invited to come down to Nashville before all this happened. I had planned a trip in April and to write with a guy who's actually got a lot of cuts. And, you know, my initial thought is, can I bring the guy like maybe 5 or 6 different tracks as opposed to, you know, they're kind of more fully formed and finished. Will people write to tracks, or is it still more like, hey, just grab the guitars and sit in a room? Because I see a lot of that, but, and I can do that as well because I play guitar, but I almost like it better when there's more of a track, because I feel like if you're doing the top line, it gives you more of an idea of like kind of what the song's about in terms of where you would go with it.
Yeah, for sure. It is becoming more and more common. I know in Nashville, of course, you know, I would say in pop and a lot of that stuff, it's been more common for a while. So in Nashville, it's definitely much more common. There are probably still some folks that don't like to write to a track. They may feel too hemmed in. So a little bit of that just depends on who you're in the room with specifically. But like myself, I love it because, okay, if I know, because I already have the vibe and the feel. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is great. And it motivates me and inspires me. Then you sit in the room and you're like, I hope this, whatever we're working on right now, turns out cool.
So
you know?
Was Jealous of the Night, I was just listening to that earlier. Was that kind of a track that that was, because it sounds pretty well produced. It sounds pretty like maybe the track was there at one point and then it was, or did that start off more like just acoustics and then they built a track around it?
Yeah, well, I love that story. So that is a upcoming single by an artist named Wilkes, Jason Wilkes. He's a buddy of mine. We wrote this song together, and it's dropping, I think, May 1st. And so actually that one started in a truck while I was doing some day jobbing. I was driving around doing some sales stuff, and I was working on lyrics and woodshedding as I was driving around in my head and in between stops. And this was, you know, several years ago. And I had that title and started woodshedding a lyric. And Wilkes and I, you know, that's the way we've been writing, was me sending him lyric and him sending stuff back, or him sending me a track and some melody and me sending stuff back to him. At that point, I don't think we'd ever been in the room together at that point. Maybe we had like once or twice, but not much. You know, spoke on the phone. A mutual friend introduced us, and he was living down in Georgia, and me been up in Tennessee. And so that actually was, I sent him some lyric, and he was having a day. He's working at his home studio in Georgia, and I'm driving around, and I'm like, here's some lyric. A couple hours later, he's like, hey, here's some melody and, some guitar. I'm like, ooh, love it. Yeah. And later he sends me more, like, because he's a producer as well as an artist. And so he produced that himself. So that was one I actually started from a bit of lyric on the chorus. And then he, and shoot, I was in a sales vehicle at the time, writing a lot of that song back and forth over text. And he's in his home studio working away. And, we basically had a co-write without even talking on the phone. I don't think he just like text me a version of it and I'd text back. So pretty different, things that are possible now that didn't used to be possible. So that wasn't track first. I've written with him where it is track first. Like he may have a scratch lyric, he has a melody, he has a basic track, or maybe even kind of a full track. And like, hey, what do you think about this? And if it sounds great, I'm totally motivated to work on it because I already know it sounds great. And that's so
kind of my,
battle.
Being from outside of Nashville and only getting down there a handful of times a year, that's kind of my strategy, is to have a finished track that's done, sounds as radio ready as possible, then send it to writers and say, hey, are you interested in writing on this? If they say no, you move on to the next folks, and eventually you hit with somebody that you click with. So that's kind of the strategy. But I didn't know how much of Nashville was still just sitting in with the acoustics as opposed to doing the track writing.
There's plenty of that, but I mean, the track thing just makes so much sense on so many levels. And I think it's a smart way to look at it that way and to approach it the way you're approaching it, because it's all about value. If this person, like you mentioned, that, successful writer, what do you have to bring to the table, right? Because any day they're writing with you, they're saying no to everybody else they could be writing with. And if they're a pro, they could be writing with a lot of different people. And it's part of that value that, you bring is like, I can bring a track and from immediately if it sounds good. A lot of times we don't know till a couple hours into the day whether or not this has any legs, and you can know right off the bat, boom, going into it, oh yeah, this is great. And that's a value, and they know they're going to save money on a demo.
Yeah. And by the way, I took your advice and put that Still So Tennessee at the bottom of the list, put the stuff that was a little bit off the beaten path near the top, and that's what they listened to, and they're like, oh, we like this.
Ah, there we go.
So that's kind of what
not country grabs a country ear these days.
Yeah, so it's kind of going back to your original point from earlier today, which is bringing sand to the beach. I think I brought something that was a little different, and that's how I was able to get it. But awesome. But then I obviously can't fly down there, so
but there's
didn't work out.
I've been doing Zoom rights and that kind of stuff. I think people are more open to that now. I mean, looking at what does this make possible is that more people are open to Skype or Zoom or FaceTime or whatever, your platform of choice is, writing that way than they were before, because they have to be. It's either that or they don't write, or they write by themselves. And so a lot of people, whether reluctantly or not, are doing it and getting more used to it. And hopefully that's one of those things that will stick around. And if that's the case, it doesn't matter where you live, whether you live down the street or, different country or whatever. If you can be there, hey, it's all online. It doesn't matter where you are. It may matter for some other stuff as far as, relationship and what you can do this song, but it's about bringing value. So I think thankfully that's kind of leveled the playing field a little bit as far as online writing. It's like, now's really the time to take advantage of it before they can go back and get in the room with people. Like, now's the time, like, hey, take a chance on me. And here's value I'm bringing. Here's tracks if you dig it. And then it makes it a lot easier for them to say yes, because they already know that there's value added.
Great,
so,
thanks.
Yeah, I think you're approaching it a good way.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. We had another one. Brad Unick. Is it pronounced Unick? I don't know. You tell me.
It's
How's
Unick.
Okay.
Unick?
Cool. Nice to meet you, Brad.
Yeah, you too, Brent.
I won't call you Brady. I promise. I already did that.
Okay, I won't hold it against you if you do. Hey, when it comes to pitching, when do you have a point where, a specific publisher or plugger that you floated a song to for a project at some point? At what, and they may have had good things to say about the song, really solid things to say. At what point, or is there a point for you where you stop throwing that song to that publisher, where you don't want to just keep, he's seen it 3 times. And I don't want to just keep throwing this. I believe in the song. He liked it, but it just never gets going.
Well, part of it is hopefully I'm going to write more songs, new songs that I'm excited about. And therefore I'm going to have new stuff that I feel even better about that I want to play for this person. And so that's the ideal situation, is that I'm just going to write that off the top of my list because it's no longer one of my best songs. And, it's totally a feel thing. I mean, if, not being in the room, I'll tell y'all, everybody, if they say cool, it ain't cool. It's not cool enough. It's not hot, right? And I'm just like, all right. I mean, I can look back. I have, notes from meetings and stuff, and track 3, cool. Track 5, cool. That's just kind of the natural no, unfortunately. I've never had cool, let me put it on hold. No, it's like, oh my gosh, that's great. I mean, it's a emotional response because it's so hard to find those. And so, it may just be a Nashville no, being kind, saying nice things about it. The biggest thing is your answers are in front of you. Like, write more songs, replace that. And then, hey, if it's once every couple of years, or if there's something you're like, oh, this one has a really good spot, like this wasn't relevant before, but this song now, it would be good for this artist or where they are. Don't be afraid to mention it. And you might just mention it and not play it again and throw it in front of them. But, usually that's what I try to do, is like keep going. Because that's one thing they probably want to see too, is that you're writing consistently new stuff, great stuff. Because they're looking for a songwriter, even more so than they're looking for a song. So yeah, that's the biggest thing. Is I remember seeing people play out back before I had like 18 kids and I could like go out and stuff. And when I first moved to Nashville, there was this one guy that, started seeing Bluebird in different places, like open mic part of it and stuff, and some smaller rounds. And he had these, a couple songs he'd play. And then like 3 or 4 years later, I'd see him and he was playing the same like 3 songs. I was like, is he not writing anything new? Now, I don't know this guy's situation, if he was actually going for it or if he was just a hobbyist and those were his songs and he enjoyed playing out. It doesn't matter. But that's my thought, was like, are you writing new stuff? And you don't want a publisher asking that question. You want to make sure you always have something new to bring in as well.
Yeah, I think more what I was thinking of, I've had publishers, I love this song, and they'll take it and they'll pitch it. And,
cool.
And nothing goes. But
okay.
Is there a point where I don't want to keep throwing the same stuff to them, over 2, 3, 4 years?
Right. I mean, if they are digging it and have pitched it, then part of it is doing the A&R in yourself and going, okay, who do I know of that's out there that I think this song would be good for? If you can say, oh, by the way, I saw so-and-so is looking, or this artist is, came out and I think this would be a good fit for them. Reminding them that way is probably not a bad thing. It's just you're kind of doing some of the A&R, because that's what they have to do, is go, okay, this person's looking for songs. What songs do I have for them? And if I can be the squeaky wheel, I may get the pitch, versus somebody else that has catalog sitting there that's not being in communication with the publisher. So, and every once in a while, maybe just ask them like, hey, how are we doing on this song? Is it time past? Or you still believe in it? I don't want to bug you about it, but I'd love just to, just check their temperature on it.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But I'm glad they're liking it and somebody's working it. That's not easy to find.
No, it's not. Okay. Well, thanks. Thanks, Brent.
Yes, sir. Tracy Richardson. Hey, Tracy. Let's see.
There we are.
Hey.
Thanks for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
So my question is on Play Publisher. A lot of times they say just, it's all about the song. Mm-hmm. And so, but what I usually hear is really great demos, when on those Play for Publisher. Mm-hmm. And do they still listen to songs that are truly guitar vocal or piano vocal?
They do. I'm trying to think about the last time I did Play for Publisher, and I think there was one song in there that was like a guitar vocal, much more of a work tape thing. A song called "Leaving My Demons," I believe, was a much more simple kind of production. It definitely wasn't like a full blown demo for what I'm thinking. And some of those still make it through. I know I've consistently, had some guitar vocals or piano vocals or work tapes get through. Part of it is the stronger songs are the ones that get demoed generally. They're the ones that people will invest in, and they're the ones that people are going to enter. So you get a lot of entries that are full demos. And if it's basically a tie, for a song, then a great demo is probably going to beat, a work tape, just because it sounds better. It's going to go through all the layers probably a little bit more easily if it's a really good demo. But I try to, like, for myself, I try to just listen to the song and not get demo love. But I'm sure some of that's unavoidable. But I just try to listen to the song, and a good publisher can hear the song. Now it makes it easier for them to say yes. If it's already demoed, they can just run out the door with it. They don't have to worry about, hey, can you demo it, and then hope that the demo fulfills the potential of that work tape. Because it may just end up being not a good demo. Like, I can't really play this out. They just know what it is right then. They can see it fully formed. But I think part of it on some of those things, hopefully not for myself, but some of it may just be demo love, that it's people just don't have great A&R ears. So it sounds like it belongs on the radio. So therefore it doesn't matter if the song is not as good. But I think oftentimes it's like the better songs are the ones that people invest in and get demoed. And those are the ones that get sent in a lot. But I know that I try to always, have a mix in there, but whatever I think the songs are that have the best shot. So hopefully that answers. But yeah, I mean, if it's really close, I mean, if it's a great demo, then hey, that's just one more piece of value it brings. But if it's a bad demo, that hurts it. A good guitar vocal beats a bad demo. A good work tape beats a bad demo. It's better to have less but really good than more and not as good. But if they're both really good, then if one's really good and a really good demo, it's like, oh, well, that's just ready to run with.
Yeah.
But
cool.
But I've had cuts on stuff that's not full demo. So they don't all have to be full demo, which is nice.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Lynn. Hey, Lynn.
Hi. I just have a question kind of on the same thing about playing for publisher and so forth, because I've done a lot of things and been on a lot of programs.
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed that the ones that seem to get picked, they all know each other and they're all co-writing with each other. And so I don't notice anybody new or anybody that has never been around with these people before. Like myself, I'm kind of like in a little corner and I'm by myself.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, how do you kind of get in with the cool crowd?
Yeah. That is an interesting point because, when I do mine, it seems like inevitably there are at least a few people that know each other. Like, hey, Jane or whatever, And I think part of that is because a lot of them may live in Nashville. So they've, not all of them. I know definitely not all the people that make it to Songwriting Pros play for a pro live in Nashville. No, they don't. But, it's people that are a lot of times hustling. They're challenging each other. They are writing together. Being in Nashville, making trips and co-writing is a great way to learn the craft. And so I think it's, I don't know if that's why they're writing better songs, but man, making the trips there, investing, learning is a great way to learn the craft. And the more you learn the craft and you're co-writing, like groups tend to kind of rise up together. And so it's not really surprising that a lot of them know each other. But yeah, I've noticed that too. But then there are, always some in there that are outliers that don't know the other people and may not even be in the same country. And, you try to listen just for the best songs. Like, I don't know the interpersonal relationships of, for my own stuff of the people that I'm starting to know them now because, I've been doing it long enough, but I don't pay any attention to like who knows who and that kind of stuff. But, you start to see some of the same names, but it's like, well, they're doing great work and good finds good. And they, how do you get into that circle of being the cool kids? Like if you have a song that makes it through and you're in there and, that now those other people are aware of you, not being one of them doesn't keep you out of that thing. I'm definitely not on any of my stuff. And so that's a chance to get heard, like in our communities, we have the Feedback Friday and the U-Day Tuesday and that stuff where people can post songs, get feedback and post on other people's songs, and gives you a chance to start meeting people and you just try to kind of start climbing up their ladder that way and find people you can rise with. But yeah, I mean, like Nashville, it's a very social town. People talk, they do a lot of co-writing and that is an advantage that being in town has. because
Mm-hmm.
you're constantly challenging each other, learning from learning from your co-writers, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But you just have to find ways around it.
Okay.
And thankfully
Thank
these
you.
days there are ways to still grow and have a good co-writer contingent and to be able to get your stuff out there and meet new people and kind of keep growing your influence. So
Thank you.
yes, ma'am. Hope that's helpful.
It is. Yeah.
Good. Let's see here. Ellie Kerman, maybe. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Ellie. Wherever you are here. Not sure where you are.
There. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm a songwriter, and I've never been able to get with co-writers because I'm in Florida, and so my publisher, I've had some holds, and I haven't had a cut yet. I'm working on one right now, but hopefully it'll happen. But I'd like to get co-writing, but are there any online opportunities to get with people? And like you said, I can't play anymore, but I can do lyrics, and I can, I would love to co-write with people that are songwriters.
Yeah.
Do you know how that happened? Could that happen is there like an online room where people get together and songwrite?
Ellie, tomorrow night we're having the co-writer cafe. So that is something that
that's what that is.
Yes. So that's what that is. So I'll go ahead and give the commercial for that. And since this month is open house month, it's open to the public. Normally it's only for subscribers of Songwriting Pro, but every month or maybe every 2 months, just depending on kind of how the demand is, it's a Zoom meeting just like this one. And actually it's going to be the same link as this tomorrow night, same time, same link, same bat time, same bat channel. And we're going to get together, whoever's interested in finding co-writers. We're going to hop on a Zoom call just like this one, and I'm going to break y'all up into small breakout rooms of 3 or 4 writers, just depending on how many people we have show up. Then you just chat for like 10 minutes, get to know each other. You can be like, "Hi, I'm Ellie. I live in Florida. I'm a lyricist, and here's the publisher I'm working with, and here are my strengths. So this is kind of what I'm looking for." And they will tell you the same about themselves. And after 10 minutes, I bring you back into the group, shuffle the deck, send you out into another small breakout room. And so and we just fill up the hour doing that, just meeting other potential co-writers in a small environment. No pressure. We're not trying to write songs. We're not, that sort of thing. It's just getting to know each other and just let them know what you do and what you're looking for. And hopefully if nothing else, you find some friends along the way, some people that are in similar circumstances and you can be friends with. And so that's something we do on a consistent basis at Songwriting Pro. So that's, I think a really great way to meet potential co-writers. Another way is through social media, through Facebook and that sort of thing. If you're in the Songwriting Pro Facebook group, we have the U-Day Tuesday where people can post their songs, get feedback. We also do that on Friday. Comment on people's stuff. If you dig what they do, especially melodically, since you're a lyricist, hey, I like your melodies. I like where you're aiming with this, blah, blah, blah. And you start just building a rapport, building a relationship. And then, you can post your stuff too, going, hey, here's some lyrics. Or if you have full demos, you can post those too. But it's also fine to do just lyric and go, oh, and we also post like co-writer connection posts on Facebook where, you can say, hey, raise your hand and go, okay, I'm looking for co-writers. Here's what I do. Here's what I'm looking for. We have a private messaging system in Songwriting Pro. So if, people post songs, you can just reach out to them privately without leaving the public feedback, which is always welcome as well. And a great way to start a conversation, but you can do a private message through there and just let people know what you think and start conversations that way.
Yeah, that's the hardest part because I do write songs, melodies and lyrics and all of, I just don't know what I do best. I mean, I haven't had any success. I'll tell you, I'm 60 years old. I just started actually doing the professional, going for this with Songwriting Pro. What was it?
That's
Ray Hamilton.
Songwriting Pro. Oh, yeah, Ray Hamilton. That's Song Placement Pros.
Song Placement Pros. He really likes my songs, and he's helping me, place them, and he's done a lot of really great work. But as far as like one-on-one mentorship, I just really don't know what my strengths are. I think I do good melodies and phrasing, but I don't know. So, you know, when I get in a group, it's kind of hard for me to say, well, I do this, this, and this, because I really haven't done anything, you know.
Right. Well, part of that is, there's different ways to get feedback on that and start to let some people speak into that and kind of have their vote on what they think your strengths are. And part of that is through posting stuff like in the Facebook group. I do song feedback services. I do coaching. There are other legit people that are pros that know what they're talking about and can at least, it's still an opinion, but at least give you an informed professional opinion. Doesn't make it gospel, but so there are places like that to do that. But yeah, post in the open Facebook group. We have a Songwriting Pro Facebook group open to anybody, and you can post on Tuesdays or Fridays under that certain post. Just, you can do lyric only, you can do both, and just like, hey, I'm looking for feedback. What do you think? Same thing on the Songwriting Pro community is you can post up there for feedback as well, and just let people vote, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
It's still up to you what you think to decide. You have the deciding vote, but always. But yeah, let people start conversation with people. You may find writers that way.
How do you handle the paperwork aspect of when you co-write? Like, I would love to be just in a room and just write songs. And then at the end, just if something sticks, like you said, if it has legs, then you just do the paperwork then and no problem. Everything's done. But sometimes I've gotten together with people that don't know the business aspect of it, and they're like put off by all that. And it's a little uncomfortable. You know, and I'm like, okay, whatever, I maybe missed out on things because of that. I don't know. But it's like, I don't really care. I mean, I'm retired, but it would be, it just doesn't seem right not to do it the right way, but I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that may be a conversation to have at the beginning. Go, hey, these are my goals for my writing is to get songs placed, get songs recorded, and just be upfront about that. Some people that may just run them off, and in which case they're not the people probably for you anyway to get you where you want to go. But it's not a bad idea to do what's called a split sheet, which is just a piece of paper you both sign saying, hey, I'm, Ellie and Bobby, and here's the date, here's the song title, and here's our percentages, and just split it 50-50, right? If the two of you 50-50, three of you thirds, just keep it even. And that's a pretty good standard way of doing that. You can have that signed off on. Now in town, we don't do that. In Nashville, the pros don't do that. It's just all, we get each other's publishing information, but it's just always, it's normal course of business that everything's, split evenly amongst all the writers in the room. When you do fill it out, normally if you fill out a split sheet, it's just so we can have your information to turn into our publisher or for our own records, so that, if something wonderful happens and we get register the song with ASCAP or send in the copyright or whatever, we have all the information we need while we're in the room.
Right.
But people starting out, it's probably best to start having those conversations until you reach a certain level. You don't have to have them anymore,
right?
Because it's understood. But at the beginning, some people don't understand it. They may think, well, I brought in the lyric and half the melody, and therefore I get 75% of the song. And so it's good to have those early and not stress about it too much, because if you're just starting out, odds are it's not going to matter.
Doesn't matter.
But,
I mean, I do it anyway. It was like writing. I really like what you said about earlier about you got to love what you do, because that's so true, because it's great to create.
It is. It's a lot of fun. All right. Thank you, Ellie. I appreciate you.
Okay.
I think Papa was next. Hey, Papa Tommy.
How you doing, Brett?
Doing well.
Well, before I ask you my question, I'd like to take issue with your shirt.
Yes.
Cut my songs. Now, if you insert like, please cut my songs, it might work better for you, because most people don't like pushy writers.
I'm pushy.
Tell you right now.
I'm push. I will throw my song at your face.
Talking about bringing sand to the beach and having an artist that is surrounded with writers who are writing for him. Are these guys really trying to stay in a certain realm and not deviate? Like, he had a hit with this or that. Let's stay in that vein. Are these guys doing that? And is it successful for them, or are they kind of stepping outside of that comfort zone?
Yeah, I think it's different from artist to artist, and it's different from certain points in their career. Like, Tim McGraw may be more experimental than Luke Combs. I'm just throwing a name out, right? But they all kind of evolve over time. And so kind of what we try to think about is, you don't aim at where the target is. You try to aim at where the target's going to be. And so like Jake Owen he's kind of gotten more beachy over time. He's folded that in that maybe wasn't on the first record, but he started to do a little bit more of that. You're like, oh, okay, he's kind of evolving that way. And at one point, Chesney didn't have sand between his toes. He was just a country boy from East Tennessee, and then he discovered the beach, and he took a turn. And so these artists evolve over time because they're trying to find the balancing act of speak to their audience that knows and expects certain things from them, and to feed that, because hey, that's important, right? You don't want to leave all of them behind because they're the ones paying the bills. They're the ones you're serving. But then also going, how do I not just be stagnant and do the same thing over and over? So they're having that conversation just like we're having that conversation of like, where do I grow? What's interesting in me? And where am I going as a person and as an artist? And sometimes we have insight into that. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we look at hey, here's the last couple of records. Here's kind of maybe where they're going, or they got married, or they got kids now. And that may, there's all that kind of stuff that we're trying to pay attention to. But I don't think they're, they try to find different slices. I call it the gaps, like they've, if they're like Coca-Cola, they have Coke, Diet Coke, Cherry Coke, Diet Cherry Coke. And we're trying to find the Diet Cherry Vanilla Coke, that still sits it makes sense on that shelf, but they haven't quite done that flavor yet. But it's not going to run people off because they know Coke and Cherry and Diet, and that's not freaking them out. But there's a little vanilla thing in here. Oh, that's different. So that's what we're just trying to figure out.
They're taking that. It sounds like, as far as the Coke analogy, that they're taking a similar approach. So it always seems like there's a sameness. Even when an artist has a certain distinct sound, it's because there's certain, maybe just riffs in the background, or certain phrases and the way the lyrics are timed, or even the melody line of those.
Yeah, and what they like to talk about, what themes they keep coming back to, what's important to them as an artist, that will evolve. But there's also a through line there often.
So writing what you like that could possibly be sung by this person. I'm just wondering how far outside their circle that's going to put you. And not that I'm expecting you to answer it, but this you could probably answer for me. William Michael Morgan's coming up.
Yeah.
And have you written for him before?
I've never written for him. So or not anything, cut by him or anything like that. Okay. So I'm going to be taking my own shots, not as part of that, part of that event. But
are you going to be, I'm assuming you already listened to maybe everything he's done, or every hit he's had anyway. Are you going to be of the mindset that you're in his circle of writers and taking it from that approach? Or are you going to, say, roll the dice on some of the songs you're going for? Because I wrote a song that's kind of country, has a swampy feel. I don't hear him having done anything like that. But when I sing, my range is in his range. So I think if I did a demo, he'd be able to follow it along, which I'm hearing is kind of important. If it's in the singer's range,
it's helpful. They can hear themselves singing it. Yeah.
Yeah. So how much of a risk are you going to take? Because I want to send you Swampy, and I just don't know if you want to take that chance.
Yeah, I would look. I need to look up where he's from. I can't remember where he's from offhand, and see, is there some, is he from Louisiana or something that may have some swamp, in his DNA, kind of thing. Then maybe more open to that. And does that still, but is it country enough? And so for those of y'all who may not be aware, we have a music industry pitch event coming up. We're collecting songs for right now with an artist named William Michael Morgan. He had a #1 country gold single with I Met a Girl. And so he's looking for songs for his, he's looking for his next singles to put out. And so we're going to be playing songs for him. So I'm collecting those. So yeah, you listen to what he's done. He's definitely, a traditional country guy, but he's also looking for something that can fit on the radio and trying to figure out what is that thing. One thing that was really surprising for me about him was that #1 single of his, I Met a Girl, was written by Sam Hunt. And I knew Sam's version of it that Sam had put out was much more pop. But then you hear William Michael's and you're like, oh, wow, it totally works as this country thing, with what they did with it. But I wouldn't have thought about that for him. So the angle I'm looking at is just, is the sensibility lyrically, country, and then is it just great? You can't go wrong. I've heard, I've had publishers say, like, you can never have a bad meeting if you play a great song. May not be for them, but if it's great, they recognize great, even if it's not for them. And artists will pass on songs that they think are great because it's just not for them at their time in their life or their time in their career. But you got their attention because it was great. You didn't waste their time. You waste your time when you bring in a song that's not great. And so if that's great and that's the best you got, then I'd say come with it.
Okay, thank you.
Because production and stuff can sway stuff one way or the other. But if it's great and has a lyrical quality that kind of fits in with what else he's done, those are the main things I'm looking for. So hope that helps. Let's see. Got a few minutes left. Let's see here. Joe, I believe you're next in line.
Hey Brent, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, sir.
Good. How's the streets of Nashville? Are they empty?
I'm actually in Missouri right now, and the streets are
really?
empty. Yeah.
I'm just curious. It's such a bustling town. You would think that people would not go inside.
Somebody said now would be a great time for them to go ahead and finish up that 440 loop that is all jacked up.
So, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, something Melly said just kind of like struck a chord with me, and I think we talked about this before, and it has to do with hiring a song plugger.
Mm-hmm.
Is that I don't think you were really too crazy about that, if I remember correctly. I'm not sure.
It like so many things, it depends. There are scrupulous people that will not take your money if they think they don't have a realistic shot at getting you some cuts. And it's like the old Groucho Marx joke of like, I refuse to be a member of I refuse to join any club that would have me as a member. It's a little bit of that, like, because there are some people out there who will just take your money and tell you whatever will keep you sending money, right? You got to be careful of those people, right? We don't like those people. And then there are good people who really will try to get you cuts, but they're just not connected. They're just not competent. They just can't get it done. And then there are good people who can get it done, and they're going to do their best, and they really are connected and that sort of thing. And those are the hardest people to get to because that's really hard to do. So they usually kind of have their pick of, pro writers and people that have had some track record and kind of the cream of the crop who are paying them a retainer to pitch their songs. And they do, pitch logs and that sort of thing. And so you just have to, do a lot of due diligence. Just because they're willing to take your money doesn't mean they're worth your money. And so part of it is depending on, hey, am I getting great feedback from, Play for a publisher, from song feedbacks, from the, feedback of my peers or people freaking out about this stuff. If it's just okay, no, don't spend your money on a song plugger. Spend your money on, your craft and improving your craft and getting where the songs are getting rave reviews from people that in the business and out. Until that's happening consistently, you're probably not ready for a song plugger, just because, hey, people know great, and if they're flipping out about your stuff, then, hey, maybe it's, consistently, and people in the business, if you've done, mentoring sessions or whatever, we start getting professional opinions as well, and people are flipping out. Okay, it might be time to have that conversation. But
the reason I asked the question is, since I'm not in Nashville, 700 miles away, but I mean, that wouldn't be a problem to go there. But what I'm trying to say is if you don't live there, it's very difficult, except for when you do these little sessions here, like Play for a Publisher. That's probably the best way for us in order to do that. I mean, rather than go from publisher to publishing house and just say, hey, you can't come in.
Yeah, knocking on doors is a low success rate. That's one reason I do the Play for a Publisher, is because it does open it, the floodgates wide to whoever. And it's still my opinion. I'm still a gatekeeper, but it's my opinion. But it doesn't matter where you live and all that stuff for that. So yeah, taking advantage of those type of events to try and get your song in front of people that are pros in the business is important. Yeah, and when you can, make trips down, that's great, but just come down with a plan to do workshops or to do, events and that kind of stuff where you have a better chance of running into people and meeting them and that sort of thing. Now, I don't have anything against at all hiring a song plugger, and they can be great if you're out of town, and I know some good independent song pluggers, and they don't take everybody because, again, they're conscientious and they don't want to take someone's money if they believe that all they're going to do is take their money no matter what they try. And so you ask around if you find someone who's interested, and again, if they're the only person you've met who's fired up about your songs, it's probably not a good sign. As oh, he's really excited about my songs, and
yeah.
if I pay him, it's like when I used to send I was still living in Arkansas, but I would send off songs to the copyright office. Me and my buddy Tim, we'd write a new group of 10 songs. We'd bundle them together as an album. We'd send off for the copyright, and a couple months later, whatever, I'd get a thing in the mail like, "Hey, your lyrics have been chosen to be in this book." I'm like, "Great, and we'll send you the book. Please just send us $100 or whatever." And I figured out they don't care about my, that's the only reason they're doing the book is because I'm paying them to do a book.
Yeah.
So you just want to.
That's interesting. Speaking of copyrights, I was just copywriting some songs for the last couple of weeks, and I guess the way they do it now is that it's very difficult when you send it in. In other words, if you write it out and you send it in that way by mail, they charge you a lot more money. Oh, really? Yeah, than if you do it online. But what happens is, it's weird because they screwed it up. I for some reason I had 4 songs that I tried publishing or copywriting, and what happened was they got it mixed up because they thought I was copywriting just one song, and somehow or another it got all mixed up. But I'm going through all kinds of crap right now, just trying to get it copywritten. Yeah, man. I used to do it on paper because that's what it was in 1994, 1995, 1996, right. And now I have an admin company that when I get a cut, they handle all that stuff. So I haven't, I was just looking up today going, how much does it cost now? I think it's like $65 or something per word. For a song, it's $65. Yeah, that's not cheap. That add up quick. It used to be 25. Yeah. Probably used to be 15. Probably used to be 5. I know. I think I remember it used to be like 20 or something like that. But times change. They gotta pay for the stuff. Thanks, yes, sir. Zave. What's up, Zave? Oh, can't hear you yet. It's that pesky mute button. Oh, not yet. All right, keep working on it. Should be along the bottom toolbar, but you can work on it. And let's go to Jim Edwards, and Zave will come back to you. What's up, Jim?
Hi, how you doing, man?
Doing well. Hello. Good to see you.
Thank you for doing this.
Yes, sir.
My question is, how much time do you spend writing for a specific artist? You like to read the trade papers and you know who's looking for songs and you concentrate on that? Or are you writing with other writers for their projects? Or just trying to get a feel for what you're...
There's no wrong way to do it, and there's no one right way to do it. So let me just start off with that. So whatever my mix is, which I'm not even sure what my mix is doesn't mean that you shouldn't be like that. Probably depends on who I'm writing with. If I'm writing with person A, I'm thinking of a person I've been writing with lately. Like he's been in the CCM world. He has cuts and hits and all kinds of stuff in that world, and he's writing more country now. And so when we write country, we're writing more in a vacuum, like not with someone in particular in mind. Although the last country thing we wrote, he's like, hey, he's gonna kind of get in a certain artist camp, and they really like this type of thing. Let's do this bluesy soul thing. Sure, let's do that because we have an outlet there. We were writing a CCM thing the other day, and I'm like, who's looking? He's like, so-and-so and so-and-so's looking. All right, let's tailor something for them. So we definitely do that. And then the country thing we wrote before that was just in a vacuum. Like, is this cool? Yeah, this is cool. Let's do it. We don't know exactly where we'd go because we may just go everywhere with it. Obviously, if I'm writing with an artist, we're writing for them. And so a lot of times it's just, you may go at a type of an artist, this type of an artist, this general lane, and without getting too awful specific, but it's been a mix, and I've had success both ways. I mean, I've had Ray Stevens cut where we were writing for Ray Stevens. It was super specific to Ray, like no one else would ever cut this, and we've gotten cuts that way that, Alan I was just trying to write a cool song, and then you try to find it at home. The other, so it's just been a mix of all that stuff, and I try not to get too wrapped up in that. Part of it is like, hey, who do you have? You're working the room going, who do we have connections to? Who's looking, and who's, that may give us some direction, because like I got ideas and stuff for days. So like, where do we start? What can kind of narrow us down and get us a starting point? And it might be like, well, so-and-so's looking, and okay, well, I got an idea that works for that, Cool. And so, I should probably do a little bit more of that, but it's just a mix. It just depends on the writer and the day.
Okay. One more question. Do you ever pull out like an old song and pitch that? Because, we talk like you want to stay current, but at the same time you want to be different, and everybody else is writing current. So
maybe different is old school.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Like go back a few years. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as long as it doesn't sound dated. Well, it's funny because, speaking of the Ray Stevens, I did get one song that I didn't write for Ray, but he recorded. We heard that he was doing a political comedy record, and this was, I'm not sure, I'd have to look it up, but maybe 2010 or 11, maybe somewhere in there. And there's a song I'd written maybe 2003, and maybe 7 years old or whatever. Never had pitched it. I wrote with a buddy of mine. He did an independent record. It was not suitable for pitching for country audiences. It was it got very politically charged in the last verse. But I'm like, well, okay, I'm not pitching that. But it was on his indie record, whatever. And then I saw that Ray was looking. I'm like, well, this could actually work great for Ray. And sure enough, so I pitched it one time and they cut it. It was the only time I ever pitched that song. So it was an old one. And part of that's smart to go back and keep refreshing your old catalog and just keep your ear on it. Because it may just be like, if I just, maybe I'd strip out, maybe it was demoed, but it sounds like 1985. Maybe now if I just do a guitar vocal or a work tape, it takes away the solid gold 80s sound of it and sounds more like it could be new, but just a throwback kind of thing. So I'm not scared of doing that stuff. I mean, I still have older songs I pitch if it feels like a good pitch. Yeah. Don't be scared of that stuff. I mean, you hear stories about like, oh, the song took 8 years to get cut. That kind of stuff. I mean, you hear those stories and you're like, okay, well, great's great. And maybe the artist wasn't in the place,
cool.
At that time, but maybe the market caught up or something, you just never know. So try to keep up with your old stuff and try to listen to it with new ears. Go, if I'd never heard this before, will this be relevant today?
Hey,
Good question. Mm-hmm. Zave, you want to give it another shot?
Let's try that. Can you hear me?
Hey, yes, sir.
Hey,
yes, sir.
Got it. How you doing, Brent? How's everybody doing? Just to tie in with what Joe was saying there, Brent, and it kind of comes in with this whole thing about bringing something different or not bringing something different. I think some folks on the call, they're probably a little bit more advanced than some of us. Some of the guys here seem to have already dealt with publishers. Mm-hmm. I haven't. So maybe I'm in the same situation as Joe, whereby you're not networking and you're not meeting anyone and you live on the far side of the world, whatever. So you can really only avail of pitching opportunities and send in a song and see what happens. Now, the current one that's coming up from Michael, I wasn't going to send anything in because the style that I write, I come from a rock background. Mm-hmm. So I tend to do a kind of a heavier style country. It might suit Aldine or Brantley Gilbert, but I don't think it would suit Michael, just by what I've seen of him on YouTube.
Right.
But of course, that's in contradiction then with bring something different, because he might listen to it and go, man, that's a kick-ass rockin' tune. I haven't done one of them before.
Right.
And you don't know, do you take a chance? You see, you will often hear guys like yourself and whatnot saying, don't waste people's time by bringing something that the artist is not going to write. Don't send in Metallica for Tim McGraw, because not only will he say no, but you're going to look like an idiot, because the publisher's going to say, what the hell did you send this for?
Right.
So it's a kind of a balancing act of, well, do I take a chance and send it in or not?
Yeah.
And on this particular occasion, we at least have the advantage of knowing who the artist is. So we can go to YouTube and check him out.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the times for me, and I think for Joe as well, we don't know who the artist is. We just see a pitching opportunity. There's a publisher who wants songs. You have a song, you send it in. You really don't know who they're bringing the song to, whether the song is going to be suitable or not. So for us at our level, we're not dealing directly with people. So all we can do is write a song, and if we think it's good enough, send it in. But we absolutely have no idea who that publisher is going to bring that song to. Now, if it just so happened,
if they're a smart publisher, they're just looking for great songs. I mean, they're not looking only for one particular artist. That may be the artist that's coming up next, but man, if something great comes in and it's not right for that artist, but it's still amazing, I mean, they're not foolish. They're going to go, well, I'm not going to pitch it to this artist because I don't feel like it fits. But who are you? And do you have more? If it's great.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm still undecided about this particular one, because I think what I have is a bit too kind of on the rock kind of country for what I've heard of him so far. It's not that there's anything wrong with it lyrically. It's just guitar wise, it's very driving, very
right.
This guy sounds a bit kind of Randy Travis.
Yeah, he definitely has that, traditional country kind of thing. And it is a balancing act, going, where might they be going? What do I bring that is kind of adjacent to what they do, but might not be what they're going to do themselves? And it is. And at the end of the day, we're all just kind of guessing somewhat and trying to use, what intel we can get to go that I think they're stepping here. I want to be there. But so many songs get cut, and, you listen to going, I never would have pitched that for that artist. Like, wow, how did that happen? Like, why did they even think to do that? So part of it is being a volume business, is going, well, I'm going to pitch and I'm going to pitch and I'm going to pitch, and I'm going to, my odds go up kind of thing, intelligently pitch. Like, if it's great, I'm not going to pitch anything bad. Again, you can't have a bad pitch meeting if you play great songs. But that's part of how that stuff probably happens too, going, well, it's maybe that weird oddball thing was because that person was well connected enough to pitch several things. And therefore they could throw a curve or two in there, a screwball and knuckleball, and just, you never know, along with some of the stuff that they like, well, he's more likely to cut this, but I'll throw one or two of these on there because you never know. That's part of the value of having a track record, having relationships. That, I write with a Southern gospel writer that has written 30 something number ones in Southern. And she grew up in the business. She knows all these artists really well. And she's like, I can send them like 50 songs. I'm like, I would never do that. I don't have those relationships with someone where I can go, let me just send you 50. For one thing, I don't have 50 that are going to fit somebody. But she writes so much, and she's had so many number ones. The artists are going, well, there are some number ones in here. I just got to find them. That's a very different thing. That's where success helps breed success, where she may get like an oddball one cut going, I just threw that in there because I could. And it is a balancing act, and we just do the best we can.
Yeah.
If someone had the finger on it and knew exactly every time, then my goodness, they'd be on the beach. Yeah.
And not cleaning it up.
And not cleaning it. Exactly.
Thanks, Brad.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good to talk to you. Let me just grab one. I know we're going over, so because I literally can't go anywhere. So we'll just take a couple more. Let me take a look at some chats I've been giving. Oh, well, Ellie actually has a chat too. So we'll just go ahead and click on you. Ellie, what's up?
Oh, thank you. It goes along with what Dave was talking about. I was listening to y'all, and I'm like, I've written songs a certain way, and then I go and I use programs, because I have carpal tunnel. I can't play anymore. So I use programs, and I make it a different style. And then I started doing sync opportunities, and I use the instrumentals. I cut up the instrumentals. And I mean, to me, there's so many different ways to use our music that we create. And I'm like, then you have the artist. Well, it's the same thing with the artist. So could I take a song, say I wrote a song like Real Rock, like Safe did. Could I go and try it a different style and, maybe pitch it that way, just kind of feel the groove and just get yourself into a different groove.
Oh, for sure. It's your song. You can do whatever you want with it. I mean,
Yeah.
recently we had I wrote a song with a couple friends of mine, and, we got it demoed up, and the demo they did just ended up being way more kind of Southern rock than what I was thinking and what a couple of us were thinking. And so we just went a different direction, had them go back and kind of redo some stuff. And we ended up with much more of what feels like a current kind of country radio kind of thing. And then we also have like a Southern rock version. It's like, well, I'm not going to throw the other one away. I'm just going to keep it. And if the right kind of artist comes along that does that kind of Southern rock thing, this might be a good pitch for him, because lyrically he can kind of go either way. And so, yeah, I mean, don't be afraid to do that. It's your songs. You can do whatever you want with them. I think it's sometimes good to play with them that way, to try to breathe new life into them. And if you haven't gotten the results you wanted, to go, well, let's find a different groove. Or how would this be if this were a rock song or a country song or, whatever, a pop song? How would we shake this up?
And
Don't be afraid to do that.
It kind of even tests the song. Like, there's this one song I wrote, and I wrote it like a country song on a guitar. And then I said, oh, what would it sound like if I did like a Linda Ronstadt trio thing with it? And I actually ended up rewriting it.
Yeah.
And it was like, it turned out a better song. So it was like, that song wasn't so good really, because I couldn't really do anything with it. And I used a program, what was it called? Band in the Box. And they have all these different grooves. And I was just like, oh yeah, it sounds better that way.
Yeah.
It really helps a lot to kind of work with them like putty.
Yeah. And if you still like your other version, you can still, pitch both versions, and first one to get cut wins.
Yeah. I just took a couple lines.
Okay. So you like have a whole new thing, but yeah, don't be afraid to play with your stuff, because it's, it's yours, Let's see, Stu on the chat, and then we'll get to Bonnie. He says, yeah, you're mostly a lyricist, and you said you don't bring your guitar to write. That is correct. I don't bring a guitar. I have it over there, but its strings are older than my children. So that's how much I play. Do you just rely on your ideas and let everyone else create the chords? Do I provide melody? I do not provide melody. I will come in with an idea, a title, some structure to a lyric, a treatment of it, that sort of thing. And that's how I work. That's why I figured out early on what my gift is, what my strengths are. And I don't have to be great at everything. Thank goodness, because I would not be great at everything. I don't have production ears. I don't have melody ears. That's just not my thing. I could maybe claw my way up to be okay at melody, and that's not going to get me anywhere. So I figured out early on, words are my thing. Me do words good. So find people that do melodies good. And I just try to, partner with people that are great at what they do, and also appreciate and see the value in what I bring to the table. People that like to work with a lyricist. Not everyone wants to, and that's cool. Just like whatever, we all have different taste and what we're most comfortable and gets our best work. So we don't always write my ideas or what I bring in, but I always bring something to the party. We may not use it, but I feel responsible for bringing some good dishes, even if we don't eat it. So yeah, so I just find the people that get it, respect it, and like to work that way, and there we go. And for a lot of melody people, that's the hardest part for them, is going, what are we going to write about? And I had a first write with somebody, known him for years, but we just never written together. He's had a bunch of hits and stuff, and we had a blast. I ended up bringing in a pretty fleshed out lyric that we tweaked and stuff, but so much of he's like, I love this. This is great. It just has a flow to it, and I can just put melody right on top of it. The people that can do that for days. I can do this all day. You just bring me the words, and I put a melody on it. Other people, that freaks them out. So you just find the people that work well with you. Hopefully it's helpful. Hey, Bonnie. Good to see you.
Hello. So I actually songwrite. I'm a Texas artist, so I perform, songwrite, and I met actually Jim and Donna through The Climb, your podcast. And actually Jim actually told me about this, your free month of Songwriting Pro, so that's why I'm here tonight.
Well, thank you, Jim.
But we've been actually doing some co-writing, and I was just wondering if you think it's better to write with, write male-oriented songs and then record them with male vocals if we're submitting them to publishers. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, obviously, it depends on the song, because some songs just aren't going to fly with a male vocal if it's meant to be a female song, Mathematically, there are more male artists, so therefore there are more opportunities to play songs on male, records and stuff. And so in that case, just this common wisdom, sometimes, common wisdom is not worth very much, but is that, if it's a gender neutral kind of song, demo it with a male voice, because dudes can hear dudes singing, and a lot of women can hear a male vocal and go, yeah, but I could sing that. Whereas if you do it the other way around, women can hear women vocals, but guys may have a hard time hearing through a female vocal and picturing themselves singing it. So that's kind of, how true that is, I don't know, but that's kind of the common wisdom. But in general, if you can, I've done it before. We've demoed a song. Heck, I had a song we demoed 3 different ways. Same track. It was a song that was gender neutral. And so it's like, well, a guy could sing this, a girl could sing this, and actually it could be a good duet. Let's do it. So we cut one track and found a great male demo singer and a great female demo singer, and we had them each cut their own version of it. So we had a male vocal, a female vocal, and we put some together and had them do a duet on it. It's one track. And so we got 3 pitchable versions for, not a whole lot of extra money.
Awesome.
And you just try to think about that, if it can be done that way. But in general, the common wisdom is like, okay, if it can go both ways, demo it male if you have to pick one. But again, is the song, I'd rather, if the song is stronger as a female song, like I'm going to go with a stronger, version of it.
Okay.
And go, well, it didn't really fit a man too much, but let's go ahead and put a male vocal on it. I'd be more likely to go with the female vocal in that case.
Well, they kind of introduced me to a new world. And so I think the thing is that we've been trying to write more for like publishers to pick it up, for, a major artist to pick it up. And then what we do is then try to just kind of change it to a female version, so then I can just perform it here live, anywhere, and see how people, perceive it, not recording it or anything, what I mean? So that way, if it does get picked up, it's not a song that's already been out there.
Yeah. And that's, and does that even matter that it's kind of out there? I mean, these days, what is out there? Somebody has it on their SoundCloud, or an artist has it on, or a singer, a songwriter sung it on the Bluebird and it's on YouTube somewhere. Is, what's out.
Okay.
And I know you have, you're doing the deal. You're out and you're playing out and you're doing a bunch of stuff. I know that. So that's more out there than, it's on my SoundCloud that no one hears, So that is something to think about. But, there are writers, and I'm sure you were, Bruce Robinson, down in Texas. Yeah, he's great. So much of his stuff has been cut by Straight. That was on Bruce's records first, like Wrapped and
I didn't
Desperately. Yeah. George has cut both those songs and singled them, and they were Bruce Robinson, songs on his records, and I knew him from Bruce's version. And so sometimes that obviously didn't stop him. Tim McGraw cut Angry All the Time with Faith Hill, and that was a Bruce Robinson song. So part of that is like, is good enough. It gets passed around and stuff gets cut off those things. And, so I wouldn't let that stop you.
Okay, well then it's okay to release it, in Texas, because normally it's not gonna. Well, we hope that it would like get out there. You know what I mean? It would become an international song, but
right.
Okay, well that's.
I wouldn't be scared of that. Now it's for you and your co-writers to figure out, because Jim may just not issue you a license to release it. That would be awkward, Jim. But is there a chance that somebody like a Straight hears it or somebody else hears it? And what opportunities can come from that? Going, this is a really kicking song that got released in Texas radio or whatever. And what opportunities can that for the writers and artists to expand your world? And Jim's like, oh, I'm getting opportunities to write with other Texas artists as well. And Bonnie's like, no, I'm having more opportunities. There's, don't neglect that, just swinging for the home run. It's like, oh, there's momentum and stuff we could build here. And like just say for like Jim, who's not doing the artist thing, could go, hey, I had a top 10 in Texas. That's a little ching next to him that he can use, a little coin he can leverage, when people go, hey, you got anything going on? Because I remember being excited for Jim when he told us about Shady Behavior getting cut. It's like high-fiving him through the internet. And it just gives you just more credibility and stuff to talk about. And so I think that's always a good thing. So.
And George lives right around the corner from me.
Tell him I said, hey.
Even better.
Even better. Yeah. There you go. So I hope that's helpful.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
It
Okay, I'll
does.
take maybe another.
Tremendously.
Good deal. I'll take another chat here, and then we can close this up here. Let's see. What are some tips for lyricists only who don't play instruments in co-writing? All right, Gordon. Hey, good question. A big thing is bring something to the party. I already talked about that. Like I feel responsible for bringing in a title, an idea, a treatment. I may not bring in like a full lyric because some people that freaks them out. Some people love it. Some people it freaks them out. So if you have some kind of, you just have options. Like the last time I mentioned the other day, I guess on Friday writing with the guys who's a pro. It had hits, but we'd never written before. And so I had a variety, had an assortment of goodies. I had, one or two that were basically fleshed out lyrics, pretty much there. And then ideas and bits and pieces. So just kind of gauge on like, hey, what are you comfortable with? And he ended up gravitating toward the one that was mostly done lyrically. And then we just tweaked it for melody and stuff and phrasing. And it worked out well for him. Other people, it freaks them out. They don't like it. So it's good to have a variety. Don't feel like you have to write your song idea that you bring in to justify our being in the room, since we aren't, bringing the melody and stuff. It's okay. If you do great work, it doesn't matter who brought the idea in. You just try to write the best idea that day. But if you're bringing in ideas and you're prepared and they go, you know what, we didn't write Brent's idea, but he brought some good ideas. We just wrote mine today. I mean, there's still value in that, of showing up like a professional. Another thing is, and I used to make this mistake of, these are the words. This is a really cool way of saying it. You make it sing, singer boy, and if it didn't sing well. And these days I'm way more like, it has to sing well. It has to sing well, or no one's going to sing it. And I will give some ground lyrically for the sake of something that sings really well. I still want it to make sense and I want it to be as good as it can be. But if it comes down to it, if it's just not singing well, they're tripping over it, or it just feels unnatural, even though it may be a cooler line, it's like, dude, it's got to sing well. And I have to kind of let go of some of my, control on that and go, is that singing well? Like I'll ask them like, well, I got this option, that option. What's singing best? Is that okay? Because I like what they're both saying. What's singing for you? Or may have some options, the A's, ands, and these, or some little different things. And like, which one do you like? I'm like, dude, what singer's choice? Whatever is feeling best, rolling off the tongue, I'm good with. Not to say that I don't care what the lyric is, but you want to give and take a little bit on some stuff and not be so rigid that it's not fun to sing, because then people aren't going to sing it. Because you want a song that somebody's going to have to sing for the rest of their lives until they're sick of it, because that means it was a hit. And you want it to be as fun to sing as possible and easy to sing. And I didn't naturally think that way because I'm not a singer. And so I've had to learn that and rely on my co-writers going, is this singing well? Is this flowing well? Is this phrasing well? You like it? Is it okay? Good. Another thing is they are just as scared of you as you are of them. Meaning if they're a melody writer, I've had plenty of people going, so you're just a lyricist? You don't hear melody? Kind of like, really? I can't imagine. I'm like, yeah, I can't imagine hearing melody because that's just so not my thing. You're like, I don't get you, you don't get me, but hey, I got the chocolate, you got the peanut butter. We might make some cool Reese's, So they, to them, I know to a lot of melody writers, like just coming up with ideas and phrases and stuff is like magic. And to me, people that come up with these great melodies, it's magic. I don't get it. Bow down, So we're all weird and unique and wonderful in our own different ways. So they're just as scared of you as you are of them. But yeah, good question though. There are way more messages here, so we shall have to do this again, and we will do this again next month. I don't have the date yet, but we do these every month in the Songwriting Pro community. This is being recorded. It'll be added to the members area, just like every previous month. We haven't missed a month in a few years since we started doing these, I think. So hopefully that will continue for a long time. So we'll have another one next month. I'm not sure if we're doing an open house next month or not, or we may just kind of, change some stuff up. I don't know. We're just trying to get through this quarantine thing and keep our wits, and it's good to see some faces that aren't genetically mine, So anyway, also tomorrow night is a co-writer cafe, which is going to be same bat time, same bat channel. And if you're interested in finding co-writers, meeting friends, that kind of stuff, it's going to be this, except I'll break you up into breakout rooms and you get a chat in small groups. So you can talk about me behind my back. I'm not listening. And, just get to know each other. And so that'll be tomorrow night. And then next Tuesday night, we have a special event, Discipline Determines Destiny. So it's a kind of a joint event with a Global Songwriters Connection with Shuri Spoltore. If you know Shuri, she's a sweetheart. And she runs a community that helps songwriters. And she's just a mama bear. She's awesome. And so we're just going to have a, same link as this as well, but it's going to be next Tuesday night. So keep an eye on your email for that. What else? Yes, we do have just other events going on. So if you're a Songwriting Pro member, check out the members area. We just did a Know the Pro with Matt Dame. He's a pro demo singer. So we talk about how to get the best out of your demo singer, how to record remotely, talk about that stuff. That's already in the members area if you missed it. If you're not a member, I would love for you to go to songwritingpro.com/inside, or just go to Songwriting Pro and look at the inside look and see some of the stuff we have there. We talk to publishers, producers, artists, hit songwriters, Hall of Fame songwriters, do interviews with them, pick their brain, that kind of stuff. I'd love to have you come by and join us and sign up. And right now, and it's only $5 a month. The price may go up, but it's going to stay locked in for everyone that's a member now. So if you're a member, don't get shaky. It's okay. It's not going anywhere. But at least during this, it's sticking at that $5 a month, which is just underpriced. So it's not going to stay there forever. But anyway, I appreciate y'all. I hope this has been helpful. Would love to see you tomorrow night if you're looking for co-writers, and next Tuesday night if you're just looking for some inspiration, and just hope we can be a good co-journeyer on your songwriting journey, good partner on it. So, but anyway, I appreciate y'all. Be sure and go by songwritingpro.com. We'd love to have you check it out.
Great
Also,
job, Brent.
hey,
Thanks a
last
lot.
thing,
Great
if you're
job.
looking to do song feedback or a coaching session, we have a temporary 33% discount. COVID-19 sucks. And so I do song feedback and it saves you 33%. I do, one-on-one coaching online, saves you 33%. So I know times are tough. So I just want to provide that for folks. So that's COVID-19 sucks. And you just go to songwritingpro.com/coaching, get all the details there. But anyway, that's enough commercial. I appreciate y'all. Have a great night. Go write something
Bye.
wonderful.
Good night.
I'll see y'all around. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.